We're going to get into some hot topics, trending topics, and what's going on around the world. Switching it up a little bit. But come on in, like the videos, you guys come in. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk About It Media 21, where we talk hot topics, trending topics, what's going on in the media and the world. A lot going on, a lot being talked about, and
being uncomfortable in my own skin.
we're gonna get into it all. So thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. I'm wondering if I should play that while I'm. Come on in. Come on in. Hold on one second. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, commas, news reporting, teaching, scholarships and research. Fair use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged, in our opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Come on in, like the videos, you guys come in. It's a little, there we go. That's interesting. Just a little tilt. Let's talk about it, Media 21. Like the videos, you guys come in. And I'm going to go ahead and let this play now.
Saying a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is?
Good morning, Anonymous.
And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that.
How are you?
Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime. We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say. It is. And we have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem.
Next clip.
And then until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. But they fought back against law enforcement last night. And they're not going to be fighting back long, because I've instructed them and told them whatever happens, you know, they love to spit in the face of the police as the police are standing up there in uniform. They're standing and they're screaming at them an inch away from their face. And then they start spitting in their face. And I said, you tell them, you spit and we hit. And they can hit real hard. It's a disgusting thing. I've watched that for years, for 3-4 years. I've watched them. The police are standing.
Aw. Hang in there, hang in there.
And they're standing there, and people are spitting in their face, and they're not allowed to do anything until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. But they fought back against law enforcement last night. And they're not going to be fighting back long, because but now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want. This dire public safety crisis stems directly from the abject failures of the city's local leadership. The radical left city council adopted no cash bail. By the way, but now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want. This dire public safety crisis stems directly from the abject failures of the city's local leadership. The radical left city council adopted no cash bail. By the way, but now they are allowed to.
For children, and the murder rates are plummeting. We are now able to report that the murder rate is on track to be the lowest in U.S. history, in modern recorded U.S. history, thanks to this team behind me and President Trump's priorities. Our children, and the murder rates are plummeting. We are now able to report that the murder... They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I convict someone of shooting another person with an illegal gun on a public bus in the chest, intent to kill. I convict him. And you know what the judge gives him? Probation. Says you should go to college. We need to go after the D.C. Council and their absurd laws. We need to get rid of this concept of, no cash bail. We need to recognize that the people who matter are the law-abiding citizens, and it starts today. But it's not. They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know.
We're going to continue with what's going on around the world, because there's a lot of people that have a lot to say, baby. Some are agreeing and some are not. And they are going in. They're going in. Hold on one second. Like the videos y'all come in. Like the videos you come in. Like the video as you come in. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Bradley Blackburn has more. Morning here at 6:09, taking a live look in Washington, D.C. this morning as the president deploys hundreds of federal officers and National Guard troops, claiming there's a spike in violent crime. Bradley Blackburn has more.
For the first time in U.S. history, police in the nation's capital are now under federal control. President Trump says he's also deploying hundreds of National Guard troops to the city this week, claiming there's a spike in violent crime.
We're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back.
But D.C.'s Mayor Muriel Bowser pushed back with data showing crime has dropped 26% since this time last year.
While this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised.
White House and congressional sources say the move, which sparked protests, is expected to last 30 days.
Wow.
The president is also threatening to expand his crime crackdown to other U.S. cities. All this comes days before President Trump is set to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska.
I'm going to be telling him, you got to end this war. You got to end it.
The president has called Friday's summit a, quote, feel-out meeting. He says he'll be able to tell in minutes if Putin is serious about reaching a peace deal with Ukraine, though he also says a final deal can only be reached between Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky says he believes Putin plans to play up Friday's meeting as a victory, while citing new intelligence that shows Russia could be planning for more military attacks. President Trump says he plans to speak with Zelensky after his meeting with Putin. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
Like the video, like the videos, you guys come in. Like the videos, you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the channel. We're going to do Hot Topics, Trending Topics too. I just want to get through some of this trending news of what's going on. Like videos, y'all come in. Like it, like it, like it, like it, like it. I don't often do that, but
these three states just
like the video. And don't forget to subscribe, you guys. We're doing pretty good. I'm trying to hit 50K. We just need more people to hit the subscribe button.
D.C. The lead in the Washington Post tonight, quote, Donald Trump announced today that he is placing the D.C. police under direct federal control and will deploy the National Guard to the streets of Washington, an extraordinary flex of federal power that strips city leadership of its ability to make law enforcement decisions and could expose residents of the nation's capital to unpredictable encounters with a domestically deployed military force. A domestically deployed military force. Because tough on crime. Do you think it's really about crime? Do you think it's really about being tough on crime? Do you want to maybe track down the axe and machete triple murderer Trump just released to the streets to go ask him if he thinks it's about being tough on crime? Or you maybe want to pop in to ask Ghislaine at that Bureau of Prisons crown jewel facility that kind of looks like a community college? Want to go ask her? Think it's because he's so tough on crime? That's said, I mean, let's be generous here. Maybe it's not really just a generic tough on crime thing. Maybe it's specifically because it's D.C., which is the seat of the U.S. federal government. So even for a city enjoying a 30-year low in violent crime, maybe that's still just an intolerable amount of crime, specifically because it's D.C., and D.C. is where the federal government is, and maybe he's just really sensitive about protecting the federal government. Maybe he's really sensitive and really focused when it comes to protecting the seat of the federal government from any kind of crime. January 6th, no, forget about that. He's just sensitive about it now. Maybe that's it. Well, let's see. Today's Monday. On Friday, this happened. A sustained violent attack on the headquarters of the federal government Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. See all those little pock marks, those little holes? Those are bullet holes in the CDC. The gunman reportedly tried to get into the CDC headquarters in Atlanta. Security guards turned him away. He then drove to a nearby business, a nearby pharmacy, and took up a shooting position there. The Associated Press reports today that the man fired more than 180 shots into the headquarters of the Centers for Disease Control. More than 180 shots fired. He was found with 5 guns, including 4 long guns, and bullets that he fired at the CDC broke at least 150 windows. The bullets pierced blast-resistant windows in multiple buildings and spat glass shards into multiple offices. 1 police officer was killed. The gunman died as well. It's not clear if he shot himself or was shot by law enforcement. It is a miracle, obviously, that CDC personnel other than the police officer protecting them were not killed. The head of the agency that includes the CDC, Donald Trump's Health Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy, posted this online after the shooting. Then he posted this one as well. This is what he was posting the day after the shooting at the CDC, when a gunman fired more than 180 bullets into the headquarters of the Centers for Disease Control. This was the reaction of the man in charge of that agency. This was his response. It wasn't until later, and after he finished posting his fishing pictures, that he got around to expressing condolences for the, shooting or whatever. This major attack on a federal government facility, again, 180 shots fired into the CDC. This major attack on a federal government facility has so far garnered no response whatsoever from President Donald Trump, let alone an armed response into Atlanta, where the CDC headquarters is. But he did send in the National Guard to Washington, D.C. today because tough on crime, you think? Maybe it's not about crime. Maybe it's not about defending the federal government from threat.
Like the video, fair use, reaction clip. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Rudy Giuliani, and question. Why is it that if you visited New York City in 88, 89, 90, or actually the 1970s, at times it seemed like a hellscape. And then 93, 94, 95, 495, basically, Rudy Giuliani and Bill Bratton did a hell of a lot to turn that city around. And
Good morning.
were actually maintained by Mayor Bloomberg for 3 terms. Why could that happen in Manhattan, where, again, as Gene Robinson and I have been saying, you can walk 40, 50, 60 blocks in Manhattan at 2 in the morning and feel safe? And yet in Washington, D.C., I've got friends that worked at the Biden White House. I have friends that work in the media that say they don't feel safe walking 3 blocks in Washington, D.C. Why can't Washington be fixed, despite what the crime numbers say? Because people aren't feeling it.
Well, I think in New York City, Joe, in the early 1990s, you had a combination of, Rudy Giuliani, did tough on crime, but you also had a police department that was then led by Bill Bratton and his deputy, John Timoney, a legendary police officer. And they transformed the New York Police Department, and they made it omnipresent in neighborhoods that very rarely saw police officers and that most need police officers to maintain public safety. Often it's the perception of being safe or unsafe that affects cities. And I think that's what's happened in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. has 3,400 police officers. They're undermanned. And I don't know about the training they get. I don't think it's anything up to New York City standards or police department standards. But 3,400 police officers. There are several other police units in Washington, D.C. There's the Park Police, there's the Secret Service, there's the FBI, there's the U.S. Attorney's Office. There's all sorts of legal functioning going on in that area. But let me tell you about my experience in Washington, D.C. and how it's been transformed. It's literally a different city today. I arrived in Washington, D.C. in October of 1965, okay? I had a wife and 2 little girls. The only apartment that I could afford to live in was in Anacostia, on Southern Avenue in Anacostia. We were the only white family in the development that we lived in. There were more gunshots during the nights at that apartment and that address on Southern Avenue in that year, 1965, than you hear outside of Da Nang in South Vietnam. And the people were forced to live under those circumstances, and the policing was scarce and unavailable and very invisible. Over the years, of course, Washington, D.C. has been transformed into the city it is today. The insertion of the National Guard, I don't know what that will mean. I don't think they have the powers of arrest. The most important words a police officer has to use are the words, "You're under arrest." I don't think the National Guard will be able to do that, but the National Guard will provide a presence. And sometimes that's all you need to clear a block or clear a person's mind that it's okay to walk that block. Police presence, or the symbols of police presence. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's something really that even at the height of COVID, you actually, when people were talking about defunding the police, you actually had in real time city council members in New York City in some of the most crime-ridden neighborhoods saying, no, don't defund the police. Yeah. Fund the police. Right. We need more officers in our children's schools. We need more officers on the street as our children are going from home to school, back to home. We need that safety. And I think it's a real challenge. I'll just say, I think it's a real challenge for the Democratic Party to understand that quality of life. I mean, bingo. If people feel unsafe in Washington, D.C., and they tell you they feel unsafe and they give you specifics about how they or their friends were held up or beaten up, don't give them crime statistics. And say, crime down 24%. No, that's not how you show people you understand what they're going through, what they're going through, what their families are going through, what their coworkers are going through. It's a wrong answer. Willie, I do want to ask, though, and again, I want to underline the New York City experience. It obviously took a bad turn.
Don't forget to subscribe, you guys. We're trying to hit 50K. Don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to hit 50K. Thanks for being here, everyone. Good afternoon.
Post-COVID. But, even before COVID, when you had Bill de Blasio as mayor, somebody that loved to mock and ridicule. Lemire himself, he just asked him about his Brooklyn gym. But, he's a Daily News guy, so that's what he's going to do. But I remember under Bill de Blasio, I remember crime, going from Giuliani, obviously, through Bloomberg to de Blasio. Crime, I think, in 2019 was at a 50-year low. So New York not only did something, when Mike's talking about changing the NYPD and the way they work, the way they operate, it stuck. It stuck from 1995 to 2019, and a couple rough years during COVID, but for the most part, New York City's back.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, as you say, after the early 90s, that comeback started, and it's gone up and down, and COVID certainly played a factor in those statistics rising again, but there has been a feel, as someone who's lived in the city for more than 20 years now, that you can walk around at night. I personally never have felt unsafe on the subway, but I understand why some people do. I understand why a mother with a stroller might feel unsafe, crossing an intersection in some places and having somebody yell at her or follow her or whatever that is. So I'm sensitive to all that. But generally speaking, there's a feel in the city that it is safe, and our police department deserves credit for that, and our mayors all the way down the line deserve credit for that. And I think also, John, there's this quality of life question. They heard from people about the subways, about people on the platforms, people getting pushed in front of trains, all those horrible stories we've heard.
That's crazy.
New hotlines you can call for something that doesn't quite warrant a 911. You don't need an ambulance, but there's something on my street that I don't love. There's a bunch of garbage on the sidewalk, or there's a guy screaming at people when they walk by. They hear those little quality of life complaints, and they're addressing them. And again, that all matters.
Yeah, it certainly does. And there's no question COVID was a tough stretch. And there is a sense that certain parts of the city still feel a little different, a little bit off since then. Especially a year or two ago, to your point, Willie, a lot of people did feel sort of unsafe on the subway, even if the stats didn't quite back it up. But that perception, I think, has largely changed. There has been an increase in officers down there. The fundamentals of New York City are very strong and have been for a while. That the trajectory of lowering crime that started in the early 90s, and then certainly late 90s through the Bloomberg era, and yes, through the de Blasio era, historic lows of crime, including homicides during the de Blasio era. And Mika, right now there's a sense that New York City's fundamentals are so strong that yes, are there questions as to who the next mayor would be? Yes, but I think no one believes the city's suddenly going to plummet and suddenly become this unsafe hellhole, depending on whoever wins. And I think that New York has established that, and there's a sense we heard passionately from Sam earlier that that their fundamentals are strong in DC as well. Does DC have more crime than New York right now? Yes, by percentage it does, but and there's certainly things to address. I think that yesterday what the president did is something that I feel the concerns are not about crime even. It's about federal overreach. It's about what he's trying to do in that city and potentially others.
Like the video as y'all come in. Like the video as you come in. Thanks for being here, everyone. Thanks for supporting the show. Like the video as you guys come in. I appreciate everyone for being here.
I think we're all sort of in agreement that the city needs to feel safer, that a surge in resources obviously would help. It would help in any city, really. I mean, you have a surge in resources, you clamp down on crime, that's a good thing. But in defense of D.C., to Eugene's point, this is a dramatically different city than even when I moved in 2004. Back then, U Street was nothing. H Street was nothing. They've become vibrant, great places to live, great places to eat. The city is fantastic in that respect. There are parts that are problematic, of course. Trump compared it unfavorably to Baghdad yesterday. That's ridiculous. I mean, just ridiculous. And I think we need to just sort of level set a little bit here. This is not a hellhole. It's a great place. Crime coming down. It could get better. One thing that could help with what Trump is complaining about, such as truancy, homelessness, street repair, guardrails. He had a fixation on guardrails, for instance, yesterday. One thing that might help is the fact that the Republicans in Congress, with Trump's signature, took $1 billion out of the D.C. budget in one of the government funding bills. There was an agreement to restore that $1 billion to D.C. That money is not returned. $1 billion would go a fair way to making the city beautiful, shining capital that Donald Trump wants. I would love to see him put his shoulders into that one. That might actually help a little bit. But I think, and Willie, maybe this is a Rafi or Joe for you, I thought the most revealing comment from yesterday had nothing to do with necessarily crime in D.C. It was when Trump said something very specific. He said, people in Iowa want to come to D.C. for tourism, and they don't feel safe about it. He was not playing necessarily to the D.C. audience when he made that when he did that press conference. He was playing to people who have a perception of what D.C. is like, and who believe that the capital city is overrun by, youth crime, which is problematic in certain parts, but it's not the case. And I think, look, this guy, Donald Trump, is shaped by his experiences in New York City in the 70s. And in the late 80s and in the early 90s. I think he understands that being tough on crime really did work for people like Rudy Giuliani. He believes that this is good politics, and maybe he believes it in his bones too, that this is smart. But I think that's what's happening here, is that he looks at this, he thinks that we're a good cudgel that he can use, and that he can appeal to people in the middle of the country who have a warped perception of what DC actually is like.
Well, I mean, I've lived in DC.
Like the video, like the video. Like the video as you guys come in. There's about 110 in the building. If I can please get 110 people to please subscribe and thank you. We're trying to get to 50K by next month.
And it's kind of like when I first started flying into JFK, and JFK was just trashed back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I looked at the airport, I go, what? This is the gateway to America for the rest of the world? It's a garbage dump. And they started to fix it. I will tell you, watching all of my friends being held up, not all of my friends, but a lot of my neighbors being held up on Capitol Hill back in the 1990s at gunpoint, and watching a lot of the chaos. And I will just say, bringing it up recently, watching what happened after COVID, and then watching how unserious the city council was, passing one law after another law after another law that made Washington, D.C. less safe. Just look at it and say, these people aren't serious people. And by the way, I'm not dealing with ambiguities or whatever. I'm hearing from a lot of friends, a lot of other people that, and it's not just over the past 3 days. I've been hearing it over the past 5 years, including this year. People living in supposedly a nice part of town, downtown, where there's shootings, where there's still carjackings, where there's still muggings, where people are still beaten out of them walking to a restaurant. Now, I understand Donald Trump, again, will play to middle America, but this is what separates Washington from Philadelphia, from many of the other cities that we're naming. It is the nation's capital. Yeah. And I do want people from Iowa, people from Nebraska, people from New York City, people from all over America to be able to come to the nation's capital, to be able to walk at night to dinner, and not be afraid that they're going to get mugged or beaten up, Sam. So, I get your point, and I do understand that it's kind of like David said. Is Donald Trump going to be able to take something that's going to be an 80-20 issue and turn it into a 20-80 issue because he overreaches or because he vilifies the wrong people? Well, I think Vegas probably would put that at 50-50 odds right now. But I do think there is a feel for people who live in D.C., people who visit D.C., that I would love this place. I hate to keep bringing up New York City, but I would love this place to be like New York City. New York City.
There's about 220 in the building. If I can get 220 people to please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 40K. Please hit the subscribe button, everyone. We're trying to get to 40K. Thanks for being here, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Like the video as you guys come in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Like the video as you guys come in. We're at 12 likes. Let's get the likes up, everyone. Can you guys please double tap that screen as you're commenting? Make sure you have hit the like button. As you're commenting, make sure you've hit the like button. Thank you. I don't like stopping the show, but we gotta continue. I got quotas I have to meet. Super chats are welcome. There's memberships over there. Don't forget to send a super chat in appreciation if you'd like to. $1, $2, $3, whatever is comfortable for you. Thank you, thank you. Thanks for being here, everyone. Like the video as you guys come in. Like. Like.
Your under eye is back.
Like the videos you guys come in. Okay, let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
That author yesterday that was on about New York from 86 to 90. I mean, I was in New York in 86 to 90 several times. That's a scary place. That was Fort Apache, the Bronx, baby. And the 70s was even worse. They turned it around. And I saw how they turned it around. And yes, and I will say his name, Giuliani. I saw how they, and Bratton, I saw how they turned it around. And I've always asked, why can't we have that for Washington, D.C.? Why can't we turn Washington around the way New York City was turned around? So I don't know, Sam. I don't know.
I think we're talking. I do think we're talking the same language to a large degree. I think it's just context, right? Like DC has made real progress for 2 decades straight. And yeah, there was a huge setback in the pandemic era. And trust me, I have friends who witnessed some pretty heinous stuff on the Hill and had to move from the Hill because of the rampant crime there. And over the past 2 years, more progress has been made. So I do think it's not, I don't think we're speaking different language. I think, of course, any surge in federal resources to help combat a crime problem will help with the crime problem. And of course, everyone wants the capital city to be a place where everyone can visit and feel comfortable. No one is arguing that. My point is simply that it's not Baghdad. It's really not Baghdad.
Right.
And I just want to make clear.
It's not Baghdad, and there's not people running in the streets with, I mean, I think that's the issue here, is that we're not just dealing with a crime problem where people are breaking in and robbing. We're dealing with, and I know because I was visiting DC a lot in recent years. I had a daughter living there, and just, it was, you know, what you could see, anecdotal evidence, and that would be every time I went to get coffee, I would see 1, 2, or 3 drug-addicted people milling around screaming in the street. I then thought, well, where do homeless people go, and looked at a homeless shelter that looked too unsafe to enter.
Wow.
This is in Washington, D.C., and this is on the city government. This is years and years of streets that don't feel safe, but also have very disturbing situations playing out on them. And so, Willie, the question that I have is, what is the National Guard going to do about that? Because it's not just crime. If you focus on crime, which the numbers are going down, of course that makes sense to ramp up and have a presence, I guess. But that's not exactly what's plaguing Washington, D.C. It's from rats to homelessness, to people who need help, to mental health care. I mean, this is a multifaceted problem.
Like the video, continue to hit subscribe. There's about 264 in the building. If I can please get 264 people to hit the subscribe button, and thank you. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. And if you've already subscribed, thank you. Continue to hit the like button, everyone. Thank you.
But that's not exactly what's plaguing Washington, D.C. It's from rats to homelessness, to people who need help, to mental health care. I mean, this is a multifaceted problem.
When's the last time you guys have been to New York? It's been a while for me. It's been a while for me. Let me know in the comments how you feel about everything that's going on in New York. Do you guys feel safe while you travel there? Or do you not feel safe at all? Let me know in the comments. Let me know. Let me know.
I've been up here a lot. I've never seen a crowd like this. I think we need a ballroom, and that's happening. It's going to be a beautiful ballroom. This is really a lot of people, most I've ever seen in this room. And we're here for a very serious purpose, Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening. They've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
Like the video as y'all come in. Like the video as you come in. Like.
Capitalism, a hybrid between socialism and capitalism, in which the state guides the decisions of normally private enterprises, end quote. We're watching that happen in action in front of our eyes, as news on Friday revealed that makers of AI chips, NVIDIA and AMD, have agreed to pay the U.S. government 15% of their revenue from sales in China. Washington Post reports on how that's being received. Quote, in addition to the policy problems, the U.S. Constitution flatly forbids export taxes, said Peter Harnell, the White House Senior Director for International Economics under the Biden administration, in a Sunday post on social media. Christopher Padilla, a top export control official in the George W. Bush administration, echoed those fears. Quote, export controls are in place to protect national security, not raise revenue for the government, Padilla said. The arrangement seems like bribery or blackmail or both, end quote. So you got a Biden guy and a Bush guy who don't think it's a very good idea. But as Donald Trump extends more state power over markets and wreaks havoc on the global trade system with his tariffs and cuts taxes for the billionaires with his party's latest big beautiful bill, he's betraying his voters, he's betraying his central campaign promise to make life more affordable in the United States of America. In a recent AP poll, only about 1/4 of U.S. adults think his policies are helping them. That survey finds that roughly half say his policies have, quote, done more to hurt them. Annie Lowry at The Atlantic calls Trump a degrowther. She writes, quote, without admitting it, the White House is pursuing a multi-pronged strategy to raise prices, suppress consumption, freeze production, and lower productivity in the U.S. Unlike typical degrowthers with their focus on long-term human flourishing and the conservation of the planetary ecosystem, Trump is engaged in financial nihilism. The president has at least once admitted that his policies will lead to Americans having less instead of more. Quote, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, you know? And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally, end quote. If only pricier dolls were the worst of it. Trump's broken promise of a strong economy and his ultimate betrayal of the MAGA voter is where we begin the hour with some of our favorite experts and friends. Professor of Economics and Public Policy at the University of Michigan, Justin Wolfers is back. Also joining us, New York Times opinion writer, MSNBC contributor Mara Gay is here, and Princeton University professor, MSNBC contributor Eddie Glaude joins us. Justin, so much of what passed as passable or tolerable, or what was laundered in Trump 1.0 on the op-ed pages of the Wall Street Journal was the he's bad but part of Trumpism. You know, he's bad for firing Comey, but the economy's hot. He's bad for norms, but he's good for the economy. He's bad for the rule of law. He's bad for Russia's ability to control the right-wing MAGA conversations around Russia, but he's good for the economy. He's obliterated all the buts. He is destroying the U.S. economy. He's going to hurt people who put their economic anxiety and hopes in him. Why?
Like the video as you guys come in. Please hit subscribe. There's about 195 in the building. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We're trying to hit 50K by next month. Thank you.
Why? I think none of us know. There you might need a psychiatrist, not an economist. But it's definitely occurring. And I think the thing that makes it all the harder is it's occurring in slow motion. For instance, all the hullabaloo about tariffs blew up in April, but they really only went into effect 3 days ago, and so we're finally going to see the effect in a couple of months' time. If you think about the far deeper things, the things you were just talking about, which is the centralization of power in the White House, the movement away from markets towards a command and control economy, that's the sort of thing that slows down economic growth over a generation, not over a day, a week, or a year. And so if I were forced to answer your why question, what we're seeing here is not an economic theory. What we're seeing is someone who loves power. The problem with centralizing power is we do have economic theories about that. That's a command and control economy. If NVIDIA wants to do work, they have to call the White House. If Coke wants to figure out how much sugar to put in their beverage, they have to call the White House. If Harvard wants to know who to hire next, they have to call the White House. If Intel wants to know who the next CEO is, they have to call the White House, and on and on and on it goes.
Let me ask you to explain what it means now that we have, so, as you said, the tariff debacle is a slow motion car crash, I think we can call it. But this is where, according to the Yale Budget Lab, as of August 7th, consumers face an overall average effective tariff rate of 18.6%, the highest since 1933, which is obviously significant for folks who watch and warn about tariffs. What does that mean for shoppers, and especially back-to-school shoppers who are really out there right now?
Well, it means that as you go to the store, you're starting to see a little bit, but you'll see even more of these prices creeping up and up and up. And look, many of my friends on the right say, well, if you want to avoid paying tariffs by American, here's the problem with that. As soon as, for instance, Samsung raises their price on imported washing machines because they have to pay the tariffs, do you know what General Electric does? The American-made washers go up just as quickly. And we're already seeing the same thing happening with cars and across the board. So this is something that's going to undermine a range of industries, and not just foreign goods. A lot of American-made goods are made with imported raw materials. They're made with imported machinery and so on. The one thing I want to remind you of, and this is why it matters so much more than any previous inflation, when we had inflation during the pandemic, it's the form of inflation where prices go up, therefore the boss has got a bit more money, therefore eventually they'll lead your wage to go up. With tariffs, costs are going up, the boss has got no more money, you will not get a wage rise to help you catch up for this increase in the cost of living.
So, Mara, whether people are feeling that yet, or understand all this yet, or have sort of heard the message loud and clear or not, isn't clear to me, but this is how people feel about grocery shopping. 86% of all Americans say grocery shopping is stressful for them. 53% say it's a major source of stress. 33% say it's a minor source of stress. Only 14% of all Americans say the cost.
How is grocery shopping for you guys? Have prices gone up? Where you're at, most places it's gone up for everybody. What's the average bill you're paying for groceries per week or per month?
Of eggs and other groceries are not a source of stress for them. So it took him 6 months to completely betray almost 90% of all Americans.
That's right. And I think one of the reasons that you're seeing that data come out is that Americans have actually, for an entire generation now, and certainly over the past decade and a half, have seen their wages relatively stagnant and the cost of housing soaring. And so you have two fundamental problems underlying the American economy to begin with, which then makes the price of eggs an even more sensitive issue. That hit voters and Americans with less money first, but you're going to see that penetrate into all classes in the country. You're already feeling that. It's also true that we know that the employment numbers are not as strong as we would like them to be. And so that means it's harder for Americans to move around and try and increase their income, because Americans aren't getting raises from one company anymore. You have to move around to increase your income. So all of that frustrates.
Move around or work extra overtime
is making them even more sensitive, I believe, to what we see now happening with the tariffs. And again, as you mentioned, Nicole, with back to school shopping, it's going to be hitting hard. And then, of course, after that, it's the Christmas shopping season. So this is a lot of pain that Americans are in for, and they're already struggling with the fundamental cost of housing.
You know, Eddie, I missed that first term, but right, I thought Trump was an abomination because he was elected after the country heard him say, brag about grabbing women between the legs, and he talked about Megyn Kelly bleeding from every orifice. Called for Russia to release Hillary Clinton's emails.
So I tried this website called Hint.
Like the video as you guys come in. Like the video as you guys come in. Don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to hit 50K. Please hit the subscribe button. Letting this commercial go past. Like the video, and subscribe. Thank you.
It was better that people didn't suffer this economic pain. It is not good that 90% of Americans feel deep anxiety about grocery shopping, because when people feel anxiety, they feel angry, and when they're angry, they're they're awful, right? And part of the cycle of keeping Trump in power is keeping people aggrieved. And I wonder your thoughts on this economic destruction and this intentional infliction of economic insecurity on his own voters.
You know, first of all, it's always great to see you, Nicole. It's hard to wrap my mind around and disentangle it from emotions. We have to interrogate that but. You know, he did this, but at least he's this guy. I mean, we have to begin to see what exactly MAGA voters were actually desiring, what they were trying to hold off, and why they would believe, in so many ways, this carnival barker, that Donald Trump, how he behaves in the political sphere. So I think, you know, the pain that people will feel, the difficulty that they're going to feel around the kitchen table will have an impact politically. I'm not sure what that will look like, but I do remember this, Nicole, just going back to how you opened up. I remember being on Morning Joe, and Alan Greenspan, the former chair of the Fed, was on. And we were talking about China. And I remember asking him, I said, China's trying to make a case that capitalism does not require liberalism to work. And he turned to me and he looked me dead in my eye and he said, China will lose. And what's fascinating, I don't see what Donald Trump is doing as a kind of mirror China did, but it's certainly the case, right, that his effort to centralize power, that his effort to dismantle democracy proceeds on the assumption that capitalism and markets can work without liberal commitments and norms and principles. And so when I combine that with the reality of the economic impact, we are in deep, deep peril as a country, it seems to me.
Like the video, like the video, like the video. How do y'all feel that everybody's speaking up and speaking out in regards to the pricing, the changes of pricing? Let's continue.
Didn't realize that Indeed was going to be such a great place to find great candidates for the hospitality industry. With Indeed, I definitely...
which is basically giving him temporary control over the nation's capital. He's also activated the National Guard because he said the crime rate is just through the roof in D.C. Why do you think this is happening, man?
Well, the president has had a long fascination with D.C. He left D.C. during the height of COVID, and I think he had a picture of homelessness that has struck with him. You heard him on the campaign trail talking about D.C. In a lot of ways, D.C. is a proxy for American cities, and his administration has taken a very aggressive stance against American cities. He thinks that people in cities don't support him. He's very aware of the number of people that voted for him in D.C., and so he has taken an aggressive stance. I heard some of what you said. The numbers just don't justify the action. We have seen a precipitous lessening of crime in the city.
That's a big word.
Crime, especially after a post-COVID spike that we acknowledged and we got after, and we drove down the numbers in 2023. We reported last year the lowest level of violent crime in 30 years. So we're not taking our foot off the gas. We're continuing to work, but we think that this action kind of plays into his narrative about cities, about using force, about being tough on crime. And I can say a little bit more about why D.C. is different, but it's times like this when America needs to know why your nation's capital, a place where 700,000 tax-paying Americans live, should be the 51st state.
Now, Mayor, a lot of people, we're talking to Mayor Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C. Now, a lot of people say, well, maybe it's needed. When they look at different cities, it does look beat up sometimes. It does look dirty. And I see Trump made an analogy or something about, he was like, when I go to a restaurant with my dad, and when my dad sees that the door of the restaurant is dirty, we know not to go there. And that's how people look at D.C. So what do you say to those people that say, well, maybe it is needed. Maybe we do need to clean it up a little bit. What do you say to
that's not crime, though. It's also not how people look at D.C. When people come to D.C., elected officials, leaders of nations that he likes to point to, they meet with me as well. And they tell me how beautiful the city is, how green the city is, how they were surprised at how many parks and wide avenues that the city keep in mind, this is the nation's capital built on L'Enfant's plan that is a magnificent and beautiful city. So this idea that DC is dirty is obviously there are places where people litter and we clean up. We have the best city services of any city in America. Our Department of Public Works is on top of cleanliness, and our partnership with the federal government is always welcome on issues that we share. Keep in mind
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
More property in DC than they own in most places, including the national parks, the pocket parks, the circle parks, where we have seen some of the homeless problem, and where they're responsible for cleaning up, dumping the trash, and cutting the grass. Some things that they haven't been on top of in recent months. So the feds have a really outsized role in DC when it comes to keeping federal parks clean. Now, we want to work with them on that. We have the teams to do that, but it's just it's not right to say that DC is dirty.
Listen, but you also don't deploy the FBI and the National Guard just because something is not clean. I don't understand that logic.
That sounds crazy.
But I do want to ask you something.
Like the video, like the video. There's about 118 in the building. Let's get the likes up, you guys. Let's get the likes to 50. Please double tap the screen to hit the like. There's 28 likes. Let's get the likes to 50. Can I please get 50 people to double tap that screen to hit the like button? 50 people. Take a moment. Double tap the screen. Let's get the likes up. If you don't know where the like is, it's the thumbs up above the video, below the video. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
And Bowser, do you believe President Trump had the legal authority to deploy the FBI and National Guard into D.C. without the city's consent?
Like the video, like the video. Did he have authority? Do you think it's a distraction? But I mean, if they're making it safer, they're making it safer. What's wrong with that? Even if it is a distraction, make it safer for everybody. There should never be a city where you're that fearful.
DC without the city's consent?
Well, this is the primer on DC that I like to give in times like this when we're in the national news. We are unique. We are not a state. And so when you hear DC residents talking about we got to become a state, we got to become a state, it's not, it's not just an easy topic, because what it says is that we don't have full autonomy. We have limited home rule, and our home rule charter gives the president the ability to declare an emergency, a public safety emergency, for almost any reason. And that doesn't really give him the right to take over the police department. And if you read his executive order closely, what it says is what the charter allows him to do is direct me, the mayor, to make MPD services available. And that's what it says. Our organization chart, our chief of police, our reporting structure for our police officers has not changed.
Were you consulted in advance about the deployment, or did you learn of it after the decision was already made?
I was not. What I was told is that their National Guard decisions would be to bring the DC National Guard into DC. Again, the DC National Guard does not report to the mayor, but reports to the president. So unlike states, the guards report to the governor. And just what we saw in Los Angeles, there was a fight over whether the Guard or the Marine Corps, I think they brought in, could be deployed, and the city and state could fight it because that is a California Guard that reports to the governor. That's not the case here. So the Congress has a bill. Our congressman moved, Senator Chris Van Hollen moved in the Senate, a bill that would give the mayor of DC control of the National Guard. And it's really important. I argued at the time, we saw it back in 2020, the deployment of the Guard and what that could do, where protests were involved. And now the Guard is not a law enforcement agency. And so when they are used, these are men and women that leave their families to support the nation. They have to be used in a way that's lawful and strategic.
I was going to ask, so what is required for this takeover to end, to make sure that you remain in control and that he doesn't get that control? What is required to do that?
Good question.
Well, that's a good.
Like the video, like the video. There's about 115 in the building. If you have not hit subscribe, please hit the subscribe button and thank you. We're trying to hit 50K by next month.
Question, because we're in unprecedented territory. The law says he has 30 days unless the Congress passes a joint resolution to extend it. Because there is no real predicate in our view for a crime surge that caused the emergency, having the reasons to end the emergency are also unclear. So that's the conversation that I will have with the person that he has designated as his proxy to request these services, and that's the Attorney General Bondi.
Now you mentioned this. You mentioned this in 2020, so you've seen this coming.
He's been talking about it for a while. He tried in 2020 when you will remember when there were protests around the killing of George Floyd. And that's when he first intimated that he wanted to take over the police. We pushed back real hard and just explained to him that at that time, especially at that time where the city was a tinderbox, would be a bad move.
Do you think this is a trial run for a police state from President Trump?
Listen, I think that what we have to see, nobody should be, a lot of the coverage I've heard, just like one of the callers I heard is making the argument that DC's crime issues are out of control. That's not true. Our police department, best in the business, partners with the federal government, supports the president, supports diplomatic visits to the city, are driving down crime in partnership with the community, and tougher policies, quite frankly, that I have supported over the last several years to help us hold people who use guns in our city accountable. And we have to have that honest conversation too. We can't have a system where a juvenile or an adult can use guns, hurt people, and not face any accountability. So the city has really stepped aggressively in that direction, and it was warranted. But you cannot suggest that the MPD is not getting the job done.
Do you believe this deployment was driven by genuine security needs or by political motives? And if so, what are those political motives?
Well, I think they appear to be pretty obvious, but I think that the quick answer would be he wants to send the message to cities that if he can get away with this in Los Angeles, if he can get away with this in DC, he can get away with it in New York or Baltimore or Chicago or any other place where millions of people live, work, and are doing everything the right way. And it is a step in fascism when the federal government can bigfoot sovereign states. That's not us. We should be the 51st state, but right now, I think that is what he is trying to make it normal, where citizens say the federal government should overtake local policing and try to make that a normal thing. So if he tries it in other places, people will be desensitized to it. We can't be desensitized to it because it's not normal.
When I hear the cities that you name, Mayor Bowser, I have to think to myself, it sounds like, I'm gonna ask you, when you look at the cities, do you think that the cities he's targeting, do you feel like it's an attack on black mayors?
Like the video, like the video, like the video. Thanks for being here, everyone. I appreciate you all for being here.
Like it's an attack on black mayors? And if so, why? Because every city you just named has a black mayor. That's correct.
Well, I think that he attacks cities with large urban populations, and most of them have black mayors. And so, yeah, I won't comment on whatever the racial component is. I'm sure there's something to that. But I know where there are large urban populations, major American cities have black leadership.
Now, guys, I know Mayor has to go. We appreciate you for checking in. And what do you just...
So that was great to hear. Let me see.
Well, hold on real quick. Well, we have a young lady, Morgan Woods. She's from DC. She's from the Black Information Network. She wants to ask you a question too, Mayor Bowser.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Bowser. Appreciate you taking the time. As a DMV resident, someone who frequents DC a lot, what do you think the presence of this federal law enforcement, how do you think it stands to impact residents, those of us that are coming from Maryland and Virginia to hang out, support local businesses, even businesses that may be struggling from the pandemic? How do you, what is your take on how this presence of federal law enforcement stands to impact not only the residents, but also, you economically in the district?
Well, Morgan, what I'm really concerned about is the rhetoric coming from the president. Already, the federal government's decisions are having a completely negative impact on our economy by firing federal workers, closing federal buildings, continuing this telework policy that they said they wouldn't continue, is having a negative impact on our economy. The Congress limited our own local spending by almost $1 billion this year that caused us to cut services in the district, already having an impact on our economy. And spreading lies about how safe the city is will impact our ability to replace that economic activity with private activity, like you're mentioning, just wanting to come to restaurants or clubs. So I feel very confident that our city is safe and you should go about your daily activities, and that we are going to work very, very hard to make sure that the federal presence doesn't impact anybody's ability to come to the city, whether they're our residents, people from the region, or people who are coming to visit us. Now, having said that, yesterday, last week, and the week before that, everybody who comes here should follow the law. And that remains true. Everybody who comes here should follow the law, and that includes the police.
I have one more question about it, because I know you got to go. Like the caller called up here this morning and said he does think it's a good thing that President Trump wants to reduce the crime rate in D.C. But in your opinion, as mayor, why is this the wrong way to do it?
It's the wrong way to do it because federal law enforcement does a different job. We work with the FBI, ATF, and DEA all the time, but we work with them on high-level criminal organizations bringing drugs and guns to the city. FBI agents don't go out on patrol. That's not what they're trained to do, and that's not what they are good at. It's also not a good idea for our own Metropolitan Police Department, who's worked so hard to gain the trust of communities, for communities to now be scared of the police. Because when they are, they don't call when they need help. When they are, they don't cooperate when there's been a crime committed and we need the public support. And so that in itself makes cities less safe. So that's not the way to do it. And more than that, it's not right to trample on democratic processes. And while our kind of autonomy is limited and our grip on democracy is tenuous in a city that is not a state and does not have 2 senators, we do have local elected government, and our own residents know how to make their voices heard.
Well, Mayor, we appreciate you for checking in.
So that's the mayor speaking up, speaking out. Now we're going to flip through and do a few hot topics, trending topics. Shannon Sharpe is applauding his brother for being inducted into the Hall of Fame. If you guys did not know, around the time his brother was being inducted to the Hall of Fame, unfortunately, he got fired from ESPN. This is the biggest thing that everybody's talking about. Once he settled that lawsuit, that's when they fired him, like a week or two later. Don't quote me, it was like a week or two later. So everybody was wondering, why would they not fire him once the allegations came out? Many people were saying, once he settled, that's when they felt that there might be alleged slight wrongdoing. When I thought about it, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Because why not fire him when the allegations came out? They fired him after he settled the lawsuit. And everybody was like, a company's going to do whatever they got to do, because now they got to go to legal and figure out how they can do this and present it and fire him. The biggest thing is, who's going to replace Shannon Sharpe? I'm trying to think if they've made the announcement. I kind of thought they did, but now I'm not certain if they did. I'd heard a few people talk about it, but that person didn't make an announcement that I saw. So who's going to replace Shannon Sharpe? That's the biggest question. Now, if y'all did not hear it, go back and listen to what Shannon Sharpe was saying to his brother. I've apologized over and over again. I I asked them to wait to make the announcement on that Monday or Tuesday. ESPN Brothers not going to wait to make an announcement. You settle the case. They're not going to wait to make an announcement of your firing. A company has to do what a company has to do. And then, interesting, go watch the video, y'all. He said, I apologize and I'm not going to apologize again. You never should have been in that situation, sir. A young girl, younger than, I think she was younger than, I can't remember her age when they started dating, but the young girl is under 25 and he's what, 53, 54? Sir, you never should have been dating a young girl. And allegedly, go back and look up, Shannon Sharpe has had other settlements. So should he have learned his lesson? That's the big question. Okay, you guys. Right now, Porsha Williams' $7 mansion faces a lien due to Simon Gobadia's six-figure debt. If you guys didn't know, Porsha Williams and Simon are going through a divorce. Just be general. They're going through a divorce. They're finally divorced. Simon is supposed to pay Porsha so much per month, and he said, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. So now Simon had a lawyer, and the lawyer has put a lien on, hold on, let's go back. The lawyer has put a lien on the property. So no matter what Porsha does, hold on. No matter what Porsha does, that lien has to be paid. Yes. So Simon's attorney decided to put a $200K lien on the property. What is Porsha going to do? So if she tries to sell the home, the lien has to be a part of that. If she tries to get another mortgage, the lien has to be a part of that. So was it fair for Simon to not pay his debt and now there's a lien on the home? Simon's lawyer put the lien on the home because he didn't pay his debt. This is not Porsha not paying her debt and one of Porsha's lawyers put a lien on the home. This is allegedly Simon's debt. So what do y'all think about them dating, marrying? Because remember, he was tied to someone else, and he said allegedly he regrets marrying Porsha. He felt that he was targeted. Well, young man, you were married to somebody else and then stepped out, and then you started dating Porsha. You got to remember, he wasn't just dating Porsha. He was dating that young lady that was also in his car, remember? She was real light-skinned. I can't remember if her hair was light or dark, but he was hanging around a lot of women. He was hanging around a few women, Porsha and the young girl that was in his car. We saw that. So if you guys don't know, he was married to Fallon Pina. She was Fallon Gabadia. So Fallon started dating Jalen, who was helping and assisting Simon and Fallon. So Fallon's now happy with children. She's now married to Jalen. And then Porsha and Simon got married. And it looked as if Dennis was okay with it. Who's Dennis? Dennis is Porsha's baby daddy. So it's messy. Make sure when you get married, you're happy about it. Now, if you don't know, Simon was in custody, ICE custody, for about a good 3 months, 2 to 3 months. Could you imagine being a businessman and you're in ICE custody for 2 or 3 months? What do? Who's going to handle your bills? Who's going to handle your day-to-day stuff? Maybe I'm sure he had some kind of manager that hopefully handled a lot of stuff. But for Simon, who is supposed to be a millionaire worth millions, how is it that he has a $200K debt and he put it up? There's now a lien on the home. It is what it is. It is what it is. Do you think he should have married Porsha? And they say how you get him is how you lose him. But in this situation, he's moving on, and he doesn't want to pay Porsha any money. He doesn't want to give her any money. He doesn't want to, help with the home's expenses. And if you guys did not know, it's being reported Porsha is also trying to sell her other house. So many people are saying, should she be trying to sell her house? There's that. Okay, you guys, I've been wanting to talk about this for a minute. Did you guys watch the Netflix special? Season 4 from Netflix, Building the Band. This group right here, baby, they can sing their behinds off. They can sing. They are amazing singers. Amazing. Many people were surprised the other girls won. The other girls are amazing too. But when the season 4 sings, they're amazing. Let me know. Did y'all watch Building the Band on Netflix? Let me know in the comments. A lot of times people were like, it's moving, it's inspirational. People were saying they were getting goosebumps. They did an amazing job. Real talk. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, and I'm glad I finally found a picture of them and I could talk about it. Yep. Amazing group. So I'm happy for them. I wish they would have won. And the biggest thing too, I don't know if y'all noticed, if y'all watched the Netflix special, it kind of talked about, I would have never put y'all together. I don't think any producer or big company would have put y'all together. I kind of felt that was a little insulting of, if voices match, why not put them together? You know what I'm saying? They did that to the boy groups. They did that to some of the girl groups. They did that to this group and saying, I don't think a company would have put y'all together. But if voices match and the voices sound good, why not put them together? Okay, so I think I'm going to end the show there. We talked Trump. We talked hot topics, trending topics. We went through a few different things. Let me know how y'all feel about Trump and his moves. Do you feel comfortable about the decisions he's making? What's your favorite bill that he passed? What's your least favorite bill that he's passed? Do you think this is a distraction from all that's going on in regards to the list? People want the list. People want the list. And people want that information released. Y'all let me know. Favorite bill passed? He's doing a great job, not a great job. Y'all over it. Y'all ready for somebody else to step into those shoes? Let me know in the comments. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged in our opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Y'all let me know. How's he doing? Y'all think he's doing a great job, not a great job? Let me know, let me know, let me know. Let me know. Like the videos, y'all come in. Might play this last one. Like the videos, y'all come in.
That if you visited New York City in 88, 89, 90, or actually time in the 1970s, at times it seemed like a hellscape. And then 93, 94, 95, 94, 95, basically, Rudy Giuliani and Bill Bratton did a hell of a lot to turn that city around. And those gains were actually maintained by Mayor Bloomberg for 3 terms. Why could that happen in Manhattan? Where, again, as Gene Robinson and I have been saying, you can walk 40, 50, 60 blocks in Manhattan at 2 in the morning and feel safe. And yet in Washington, D.C., I've got friends that worked in the Biden White House. I have friends that work in the media that say they don't feel safe walking 3 blocks in Washington, D.C. Why can't Washington be fixed, despite what the crime numbers say? Because people aren't feeling it.
Well, I think in New York City, Joe, in the early 1990s, you had a combination of, Rudy Giuliani, get tough on crime, but you also had a police department that was then led by Bill Bratton and his deputy, John Timoney, a legendary police officer. And they transformed the New York Police Department.
And how do y'all feel that he's calling for immediate removal of homeless people? Where are they supposed to go? Shouldn't they put a plan together of where they're supposed to go? Because we don't want even more crimes committed because the homeless is shot. They should now remember how 10 minutes ago there was a video of a person stating that the homeless shelter looked like a spot you shouldn't even be walking into the building. She said that looks scary. So let's continue fair use reaction clip.
And they made it omnipresent in neighborhoods that very rarely saw police officers and that most need police officers to maintain public safety. Often it's the perception of being safe or unsafe that affect cities. And I think that's what's happened in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. has 3,400 police officers. They're undermanned. And I don't know about the training they get. I don't think it's anything up to New York City standards or police department standards. But 3,400 police officers. There are several other police units in Washington, D.C. There's the Park Police. There's the Secret Service. There's the FBI. There's the U.S. Attorney's Office. There's all sorts of legal functioning going on in that area. But let me tell you about my experience in Washington, D.C. and how it's been transformed. It's literally a different city today. I arrived in Washington, D.C. in October of 1960.
Like the video, like the video. Can we get the likes to 55? Can I please get 10 people to double tap that screen to hit the like? Can I please get a few people to hit the like button as you guys come in? Like the video. Like the video. I think I'm in there. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about DC. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about him, what he's doing. You think he's doing a great job, not a great job? Thanks for being here, everyone. Focus on healthy, safe relationships. Be around people that's loving, kind, and respectful. Well wishes to everyone. Be blessed. Goodbye.